Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, and for all you new subscribers, it's much appreciated. So today's video is going to look at insomnia. This is actually a video that has been requested by quite a few of you, so I thought I'd speed up the process and give you guys my top tips for helping insomnia in general, as well as when it's linked to mental health. Number one, I feel like this is quite a well-known bit of information, but I always say no blue light or no electronic screens within 2 hours before going to bed. This is because blue light encourages the release of cortisol in the brain, which is the chemical we use to wake up. So if you have that just before bedtime, it's obviously going to get your head going, it's going to get everything awake, and therefore it's going to be much more difficult to get to sleep and maintain a good night's sleep. So this is obviously quite a tricky one because the distractions of, modern technology and social media are there. So I tend to put my phone on airplane mode. Some people I know also tend to put their electronic devices outside the bedroom because studies show that also they give off a fair bit of radiation. So it depends how deep you want to go into the electronic side of it. But for me, at least, I always make sure I'm not on my phone just before bed. For me, it's a big no-no for getting good sleep. Number two, no eating 2 hours before bed at least. Now, this is a tricky one because obviously if you have sort of type 1 diabetes, that's not necessarily an option. But basically what happens when you eat just before bed is that not only is your body focusing a lot of energy on digesting that food, so that means your sleep's not going to be as efficient as it could be. It also means that if you've got food in your stomach and you're producing stomach acid, when you lie down, that can then cause acid reflux. And you can actually end up burning your esophagus by doing that. So there's several reasons as to why you shouldn't really eat within 2 hours before going to bed. If you really feel you need to eat, I was recommended just to have something very, very, very plain, like maybe 2 oat cakes or something. If you're really desperate to eat, have something so plain that's very, very easy to digest. Because that way it then you won't end up with repercussions and your sleep will also then be better. Number three, linked to the previous one, I tend to have a rule for myself: no sugar or caffeine past 6 o'clock. Again, when you drink alcohol late at night, this obviously tends to go out the window, but sugar obviously rapidly increases your blood sugar, which means you get a sugar spike, and then you also get a big sugar low, which means you'll then get, cravings for perhaps less nutritious food. And if you have this before bed, you might find that your blood sugar does this while you're asleep, which means that you're awake and you're suddenly buzzing with lots of energy. So for me, that's a big no, having sugar before bed. It really affects me. I mean, it can affect people differently, but for me, that was a big no. I was waking up buzzing in the middle of the night and can't get back to sleep. And I was going, oh God, really regret having those biscuits now. Not worth it, guys, not worth it. Number four. So this is quite an interesting one that I found out recently. Studies show that taking a hot bath within 90 minutes before going to bed is really, really helpful. There's a couple of reasons they mentioned about how it takes heat away from the core, which is one reason, but it also encourages your body to rapidly cool after you get out the bath. Now, when your body tries to cool down, basically studies show that your body is tricked into thinking you're going from day to night time, so it triggers sleep hormones and everything to do with that. So I'm obviously not a scientist or a doctor, but it's really, really interesting if you look it up. There's a lot of information out there. And so apparently taking a hot bath is really useful before bed. Number five, wind down time. Again, this is not very easy if you live in a world that's very, very hectic, which I think most of you do. You know, especially if you have deadlines from work or people, you know, emailing you or texting you late at night. This is very difficult to do, but having wind down time is so important, particularly for you guys with anxiety. For me, I always say to myself that window 2 hours before bed, I have to just be doing nothing. Maybe watching a little bit of easy TV that I don't have to think about too much, but nothing where I'm going to have to use my brain and not doing anything. The absolute minimum I'll be doing is writing a list of everything that's in my head, because otherwise I end up going to bed and getting to sleep is near on impossible. And if I do get to sleep, my brain is going da 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 da, and I'm having crazy ass nightmares. So I find that wind down time of not doing anything, not doing any tasks, just being, the bare minimum, will allow everything to sink in, and it means you'll wake up refreshed in the morning. And if you think there are things you have to get done, think to yourself realistically, do they really need doing before bed? You know, does this email really need replying to right now, or can I do it in the morning when I'm refreshed? Up to you guys. Number 6, writing everything down that is in your head. So this is something I covered in the last video, and it's very, very, very useful. It basically gets everything from out of here and onto paper, which is just super, super important. You'll have to excuse my dishwasher going off in the background. Shh. It's not very obedient. Writing everything down in your head will get everything out of here and onto paper, and you don't have to do anything about it, but at least it's out of your head. The process has gone all the way from here, down your arm, through your fingers and onto paper, and you no longer have to necessarily think about it. So for me, writing things down is a big, big yes. Number 7, lavender oil. Honestly, one of the best things I've come across in my life. So studies show that lavender oil acts sort of a little bit like a sedative, and is really, really good for helping anxiety, calming the nervous system, and also for helping you sleep. So what I do just before bed, if I'm really struggling with anxiety and stress, is I put a little bit on my wrists, I put a little bit on my temples, and a tiny bit under my nose. So they've proved that actually it's soaking into your skin and your bloodstream is really helpful. And it's also really useful and very effective if you smell it as well. So often, sometimes popping a little bit on your pillow is really, really good as well. Just be cautious for those who are asthmatic like me. I tend not to put too much on my pillow because it can sometimes trigger my asthma. Number 8, yoga breathing. Now, for those who haven't done yoga, there's a type of breathing in Ashtanga where you breathe in through your nose, and I don't know if you can hear on the camera, it sounds a little like this. Now, focusing on breath is one of the most important skills that we can have, because breathing is the one thing that we do consistently that is conscious. It's something we don't think about, we just do it naturally, and it's a really good thing to tune into if you need to get out of here. So focusing on the out breath is really important, because focusing on the in breath can cause your breathing to rise and panic. So the best thing to do is to focus on the out breath and maybe count, in for 1 and counting out your breathing for 8. Keep doing that very, very slowly, focusing on the breath because it brings you into your body and into the moment, and is a really useful tool for helping with anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia, or anything like that. So try looking up yoga breathing techniques, as well as just generally trying it out for yourself and seeing what works for you. My last point is not necessarily a tip, but I have a great bit of kit for helping with sleep, and it's called the sleep calculator. Now, I downloaded it from Google Store, and it's just revolutionized how I sleep. And it basically works by working with your natural systems. So what the sleep calculator does is it calculates how many cycles you'll get in order to get a good night's sleep and not wake up in the middle of a deep sleep. Because if you wake up in the middle of a deep sleep, you'll end up feeling very groggy, you know, that feeling where you feel kind of hungover and really gross. And what the sleep calculator does is it tells you if you go to bed at this time, then you'll need to wake up at one of these times in order to feel refreshed. Similarly, if you want to wake up at, I don't know, 6:30, you'll need to go to bed at maybe, 10:45 or, 12:15 or whatever it is. My maths is terrible, so. But sleep calculator is really, really useful for getting a decent night's sleep without having to worry about getting 8 hours or whatever, because it counts the cycles and you can still wake up feeling refreshed. So check it out. It's super helpful. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please comment below on your thoughts and anything you'd like me to film next. And if you like what you've seen, please hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate your support. Love you all lots. Have a fabulous week.